think we've got lots to touch base on, especially when it comes to being able to cement exactly why this new era and what is it all about. So maybe, Bastana, let me start off with you in terms of why now and why this new era.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see these gorgeous finalists in front of us this morning. You all look incredible, and you're in for the ride of your life. Why now? I think Miss South Africa as a pageant over the decades has really evolved in many ways. I mean, when Peggy and I entered in the 90s, it was soon after a democracy, as you probably will well know, that pre-1993, black women, we were not allowed to enter Miss South Africa. It was only the enclave of the white women. And so when Jackie won in 1993, she really broke the mold for us to show that inclusivity and diversity is important within the Miss South Africa pageantry. And so in the 90s, Miss South Africa was really also about a new era. It was about a new dawn of a new democracy. And it was about inclusivity. It was about heritage representation. It was about young women being, the face of hope of what South Africa can be and can become. And so in our reign, I born in 94, Peggy and I call each other Umzala. So Kumalo, it's just the family thing. Say monopolize yonke lento nje yabona. So Umzala won in 96. And so at that time, it was a critical time in our history to give the platform relevance, to get the platform a stage where it could showcase what young women can achieve. And in the year 2000 and to where we find ourselves 2025, it's still such a relevant platform for empowerment, for transformation, for women, young women to really use it to catapult themselves into different facets of their lives. And so why the new era is exciting for me, particularly as a co-chair, it's really reigniting that essence of Miss South Africa, the importance of Miss South Africa in the times that we're living in. And when I reflect back on some of the winners that we've had over the years, these women have gone on to trailblaze, have gone on to do amazing things with their lives and their career paths. Some of them are doctors, bankers, we have lawyers, pharmacists, you name it. I mean, women across the different disciplines and industries that come from Miss South Africa, that understood the platform and how to use it to not only just take themselves forward, but the impact they can have to bring others along. So I always say that heavy is the head that wears the crown. And the duty of the crown is something that you cannot take for granted. And so I think with the new era, we're excited to see what you bring and to collaborate and really redefine what wearing the Miss South Africa crown really is all about.
And thank you very much for that, because I think that a lot of times when we're speaking about the crown and the duty, it's something that's been echoed within this new era, that it's about the duty of the crown and what it actually represents. Maybe Peggy, let's just talk a little bit here about the measurement of impact. Because it's one thing to say, I want to save the world and I believe in world peace, but it's something to live up to it and to have tangible results that speak to it. So how are we going to ensure that the impact that we're speaking about is actually something that we can see and it resonates?
Good morning, everybody. It's such an honor for me to be here and to sit alongside my brilliant sister. So I am a mother of 2 girls, and over time, I think the word beautiful sort of, kind of disappears from the narrative, because I think, girls are brilliant. And when we are sort of, anchoring their brilliance and their greatness on this beauty, that's all people look at. And I've had to go through that myself personally, having pivoted from what I used to do into banking. I felt like at every turn I had to prove myself. And so I had to really think about being a mother of 2 girls, who are brilliant, that for me, brilliance is really what defines women in whatever space that they find themselves. So I'm so glad. First of all, I think it's an honor, to be a co-chair alongside Basi, who's really also a doyen in entrepreneurship in this country, really a change maker. And I think for me, for the young women sitting in this room, you need to look at the opportunity as a platform that you can leverage to empower yourself, to caterpillar yourself, but also to be a good role model. I miss that. I miss the space where people, instant fame and being on social media doesn't make you a good role model. What makes you a good role model is when you're authentic to yourself and those around you, where you are compassionate, you have empathy, and you want to uplift others, and you really want to contribute towards the upliftment of so many people in this country, especially the youth of South Africa and of course the African continent. And I'm so glad that the new era also is underpinned by a Pan-Africa outlook. I think that is very important for South Africa to really play that role in terms of developing leadership and social change from a Pan-Africa perspective. When it comes to measurement, I'm glad that I saw that as a key principle. And so Audrey, well done to you and the team for bringing that in, because we need to measure, right, what we do, measure the successes. And I think for me, it will be important for the finalists to also sit back and say, if I had to take whatever initiative that I'm doing, that I champion, that I advocate, what is the measurement of that initiative and how is it impacting communities from where I come from? And I think, Faith, you mentioned it. I mean, one thing I love about you, when I listen to you and sometimes I just see sort of clips in social media, is your passion towards seeing change and honesty and accountability in our country. And I think for me that is so important. And so thank you for having that voice and bringing it out so that we can applaud it as a nation when you're holding power to account. We need more women that are holding power to account, because I think even whether you look at corporate, whether you look at government, you do have women taking up space and becoming trailblazers and game changers, but we need more women sitting at the table having that voice, because you still find a lot of the spaces being dominantly taken up by males. And so this measure, I think for me is important. It's important that the Miss SA organization walks the journey with the winner, so that at the end of it, we can all reflect and say, what have we achieved? Your tagline says, face your power, embrace your future. And so in facing your power, in facing your greatness, and into looking into that future, you can only look into that future when you've taken stock of what you've achieved and how you've done it. And is this something, or I think I saw in some of the notes we were talking about producing an annual report. And so when we produce that annual report, what do we want in the report? Do we want to talk about youth empowerment across the continent? Do we want to talk about youth empowerment in our country? One of the things that I have had the most distinct honor and privilege to be involved in is the G20 presidency for South Africa. And it's really has been a missed opportunity, I think, from where I sit, that we haven't created a broader awareness for the whole of South Africa to be involved in everything 20. Basti and I were talking that, it's G20, it's B20, it's Y20, it's W20, it's T20, it's C20, it's M20. So there's a lot of 20s. But I think if I look at this new era and how you've actually, anchored the narratives that you want to really focus on for this new era for Miss South Africa, a lot of it lies in some of those global conversations that have been happening in our country, whether it's in the youth segment, the women's segment, the think tank segment, the media segment, the civil society segment, which I think has been such an important one, because we need more activists in our country. We need more voices around really championing social change and social sustainability in our communities. And so whether we decide, and I think it's important, Audrey, you and the team to decide what do you put in that report? What are the things that you're going to really focus on and say, these are the measures that will define the leader that you're going to be, selecting on the 25th of October. These are the 3 things that we think are going to be important to land and have this report. And remember, your report becomes a brand. You can take the report into the corporate space and start having conversations with corporates around, this is how we hold ourselves accountable. This is what our governance look like. I mean, both Basi and I were reflecting and saying, when we had this opportunity, or Dr. Precious Malloy Motsepe reaching out to us, governance issues came into our thinking around what is the governance structure, what do you want to achieve from this this new era, because we also need to be aligned to that, right? I find that many times when we have platforms, the platforms also needs to speak to you as a person and your principles and your values, really what underpins you as a person. And so I think for me, it's important that you really look at those, Nhlanhla, and say, what are those measurables that we're going to put into this report so that the report has relevance in the public space.
I think that even the language that we're using when it comes to Miss South Africa is starting to change. And colleagues, I'm sure you're noticing, we're talking about leaders.
Yes.
So with the leaders, it's not just with the contestants and the finalists, it's the leaders. So acknowledging that what we're actually building here is leadership.
Yeah.
I think my microphone might have turned down, that's okay. So let's do a quick swap. There we go. So it's about leadership. And maybe, Bastanene, let's go into the controversial conversation around, does that mean pageants are outdated? Or do they risk being outdated?
Firstly, I don't think pageants are outdated. They do run the risk of being outdated if they do not evolve with the times and have the relevance of the times. I think what is important is every single year, I mean, think of it as a business. You have a strategy session that you to map out what you want to achieve for that year. And so I think it's important for the Miss South Africa organization to have that every single year to say, what do we want to achieve, so that the pageant itself and its mandate remains relevant. Because indeed, if it doesn't evolve with the 21st century, for example, where we are, it can stagnate, it can lose its place as a space for women to be empowered, for women to have a voice, for women to rise, for women to be leaders. And I like the new vocabulary, the language that Opegi is using about leaders, because in front of us, there are leaders. The leaders who are going to impact this nation, who are going to be entrepreneurs, leaders who are going to create jobs, leaders who are going to hold high office in the C-suites, leaders, I believe some of you, there's one of you who's a psychiatrist and the like, in the mental health space. There's so many leaders that sit here today that this country needs, and therefore this country needs a Miss South Africa platform to unearth those leaders. There are many different platforms out there. There are people who are gifted in the sporting field, in academia, in accounting. And Miss South Africa also is that platform that gives young women an opportunity to shine. But it's not about wearing the crown. On the night you get crowned Miss South Africa 2025, it's not about the 12 months of your reign. It's really about how you're going to use that title and that crown beyond the 12 months to make a greater impact in society. You might just be the title holder, but the assignment and the mandate is bigger than you. It's how you're going to, it has to have a cascading effect and impact your winning. It's about how you are going to bring on another generation of young leaders, becoming a positive role model, becoming a mentor. We're sitting here not just as figureheads and people who know it all, but we're sitting here as role models, because Miss South Africa really has a critical role to play within how women are viewed in society. And it's also in the projects and the causes that you then you undertake in the year of your reign. And it mustn't just be the year of the reign, this is what I'm going to say, I'm going to save the world, as what Faith is saying. It's really what truly, authentically resonates with you and your purpose, your calling, and your assignment, and showing up for that which you are called to be and to do, but because the platform has given you that. So the platform is an incredible empowerment tool, but it's how you use it for the greater good and to make an impact in other people's lives. It's just not about you. It's a big assignment. So you also have to reflect, within yourself. Am I really ready for this? Am I really ready to represent and be an ambassador of a nation such as South Africa, which has its own challenges? How am I going to be a voice of change, of impact, of influence within the South African socio-political economic state? And so it's really a mandate that you cannot, it's not just about the crown and the pretty dresses, honey, and the stilettos and the makeup and the hair and the nails. Bigger than that, but also of course do look fabulous. Why?
And just to borrow and echo from both of your words, it resonates that we can safely say Miss South Africa is all about fabulous leaders on assignment. I think that's the way that we should be looking at it. We are fabulous leaders on assignment. And I'm just borrowing from the co-chairs, your mentors. You're gonna have great fun. But Peggy, as we do wrap, let's talk a little bit about the significance of the EYA. Empower Youth Africa, and the importance and the significance of being able to collaborate collectively, men and women, to bring about this change when it comes to youth empowerment, youth development, confronting the challenges faced by young people, not only in the country, but on the continent head on.
So it's an exciting platform, and I wasn't really clear, so please bear with me. Was it just initiated for the new era of the Miss SA organization? So I think what I love about it is that it's inclusive, right? You are going to be collaborating with both genders, which is very important. But also when we do talk gender, remember there's other we need to be gender neutral. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I would really say maybe make it a force and a movement for all who is young, and categorize it, say, between the ages of this and this, so that it really keeps its relevance, but it's also inclusive and it brings everybody on board. I think for me, what happens with the platform will be important, because if you're talking about social entrepreneur, you're talking about empowerment, you're talking about leadership. So would the platform also look at those things, especially on the entrepreneurial side, because we also do have the Young Entrepreneurs Alliance. So I think the co-creating, the collaboration and partnership, we do have existing platforms that you can partner with who were part of the G20, and they did a phenomenal summit last week, and I'm sorry that the opportunity didn't really present itself for the young leaders sitting in the room, but I think they would have benefited a lot when you're sitting with global young people that are sitting in different spaces within the G20 member states, and they're looking at entrepreneurship, they're looking at access to capital. Basi knows all about it. Being an entrepreneur and wanting access to capital. And I think what's exciting about young people who are entrepreneurs, they are rewriting the rules around how you access capital, because they're setting up tech platforms, they're setting up fintechs, and they're rewriting the rules. And in doing that, you're actually empowering even the most ordinary Umama Dlamini, sitting all the way in a rural village in KZN. If she has a platform of how she can actually, trade with her customers on her phone, that is what rewriting the rules is all about, because you're being more financially inclusive in how you're doing the offering. So I think for me, this movement is very important. It's an important initiative. It's great that, it's going to include everyone, so you are more inclusive in your approach. Faith, for me, what is important for the young leaders sitting in this room, I look at my 16-year-old Nobuhle. Nobuhle, they'll take you on. I'm at 2K, right? Proper, I'm at 2K. They will take you on. They talk about, as a country, we've been gripped by land expropriation, you know, what initiatives we've been driving. Has the government done enough? Have we, as the people, done enough? You know, Bush and them are talking about culture expropriation, right? And when you raise your voice to make them understand, you know, on Heritage Day around beads, how they show up, they say, Mom, you guys have let the land expropriation issue go on and on and on. We're not going to allow people to expropriate culture. So if they go on a camp, for an example, and you're going to come and tell them that they will go to Epongolo, which is northern part of KZN, and they're going to live in a Zulu hut, and you call that experience, they will take you on. Because for them, that is not experience. Her great-grandmother lives in a hut, so it can't be an experience, because when she goes to rural KZN, she stays in that hut with her great-grandmother. So this is the new thinking and leadership that we have at a school level, ladies, at a school level. So they're coming up and they're thinking of issues very differently. And so I think even with the Empowerment Youth, what is it called, sorry?
Empower Youth.
Yeah, Empower Youth Africa. You need to bring those voices in, you know, and make them also bring in some of the thinking that they are, the spaces that they take up at school, the spaces that they take up at university. They've got views around some of these issues. And so it will be important to bring those voices into the platform so that, you know, if you become the leader of this, you know, organization in 2025, if you're invited to come to a St. Mary's, a St. Anne's, Rodin, you know, you name them, you are able to actually take up that space, and they can resonate with you, and they can actually look at you as a role model that speaks to who they are. And so the point that Basi was making around being authentic, you know, remaining true to yourself and understanding what your purpose, what your plan is as an individual is very important. But for more important than that, I think I've seen it in Basi, many of our generation of Miss South Africas. For us, what was important was we need to lift as we rise. And we did that every single day, and in every platform that we took up was to make sure that we lifted women as we were rising. And the most important thing for me is that having a seat at the table is one thing, but having a voice at that table is critical.
And thank you so much to the both of you. And I think it's one thing, colleagues, we can appreciate is that this new era of Miss South Africa needs someone who is alive to the times.
Yeah.
Alive to the moment,
Yeah.
alive to the time, and somebody who can rise to the occasion and the needs of the time. Thank you so much, coaches, for joining us.
Thank you.
This morning. Bridget, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, and most importantly, why should South Africa vote for you?
Hi everyone, my name is Bridget Jones, and no, I was not named after the movie. I am 28 years old. I come from a small community called Bridgetown on the Cape Flats. And I was raised by a single parent family. So why should South Africa vote for me? I carry the voice of communities that are too often overlooked. Growing up on the Cape Flats, I've witnessed how gang violence took away the opportunity of so many of our young people. And I want to change that. My mission is in creating safe spaces where young people can feel seen again. I want to create safe spaces through sports and recreational facilities, focusing on long-lasting practical solutions. And I believe South Africa needs a leader that serves with heart and purpose. Thank you.
All right, Jan, let South Africa know, why should South Africa vote for you?
Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. When I was a little girl, I grew up with the Miss South Africa platform. The women that have walked this platform has greatly shaped me, and I truly am a product of this platform. They've shown me what leadership is, what servanthood is, and what it means to truly lift up my fellow South African. I'm also a mental health practitioner, and I understand that our power lies in the mind. My mission is to empower our youth with knowledge on the mind through mental health education. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jan. All right, Giselle, the platform is yours. Let South Africa know, why should South Africa vote for you?
Good day, everyone. My name is Giselle. I'm 27 years old. Was brought up in Vanderbijl Park and currently live in Pretoria. I grew up in a house where my father was the school principal of an all-black school, and my mom was a teacher at a multicultural school, really teaching living out the principles of Ubuntu, helping underprivileged children in a classroom in a personal capacity. Even though I grew up privileged, I've been exposed to the struggles around me through my parents. And I think now is the time for me to pay it forward, to use my privilege to other people's advantage. As a chartered accountant, I've realized how critical it is for our youth to have financial literacy, something that is often not taught in school in subjects like LO. I believe that 50% of our youth currently don't know how to open a bank account, how to save money, or how to budget. And for me, as I rise in my career, it is my mission to reach out and uplift others by using my knowledge on financial literacy to help them and to equip them as they enter the job market, as they step into adulthood after school. I believe that my influence as a leader is measured by the impact that I have. And that is exactly what I want to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tell us, Karabo, why should South Africa vote for you?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Please vote for me, guys. No, I'm kidding. In all seriousness, I would appreciate South Africa's vote because I truly believe my own personal journey speaks so strongly to me. I believe that I am a reflection of possibilities. I grew up in Alexandra, Gauteng, very proud. So I'm your girl next door. I champion for young South Africans who, like me, couldn't afford to go to university because of financial restraints. There's so many of us, and I'm so glad I have the platform on social media to speak to our young women, our young boys who are also experiencing what I personally went through as well, which is why I champion for youth global exposure. I found my path through creativity and freedom, which in turn led me to opportunities abroad. I sat at home, I wondered, I don't have a degree, what's my next plan? Do I just sit and sulk? I had to be creative, and I moved abroad. I gained global skills and knowledge, which is what I want to champion for young South Africans, is to be creative and find their own path, to gain those global skills and knowledge and be able to bring them back home to be value-adding citizens, and also to together fight for youth unemployment.
Hi, Luyanda, tell us, why should South Africa vote for you?
Oh my goodness, that is such a serious question. Sanibonani, igama Luyanda Nonhlelo, umaZulu uncomela lokade madomeni baphume phezulu izandla zozibili amasingana inyama ngala. Now that for me means I'm very cultural, and as I continue to hear the language and the new language that's being spoken here being that you need to be rooted in your heritage, I feel like I really do resonate with this platform so much. Because in 2022, when I entered, I was just a very little young girl who didn't understand her purpose. But right now, I'm coming back as a woman who understands that my mission is to complete the cycle of empowerment. When we talk about the boy child, the truth that we need to confront is that when we don't pay attention to the little boy on the street or the young men in our society, we are continuously fueling the violence in our country. So how do we then actually attend to that? Why am I shaking? I do this all the time. So how I plan on doing that? I think, for those who don't know, I've had the privilege to be on South Africa's greatest show, which was Shaya Ilembe. And we all know how the job creations that were there were really, really massive. I mean, the first season had 8,000, the second season had 16,000. And I've made it my mission to tap into the talent within our streets, especially for the young men, to tell their stories their way. And how I want to do that is by creating a film program that I feel like I can measure the impact by making sure that the boys that actually attend leave there with jobs or leave there with a certain skill that they can then use. Because the truth is, these are our brothers, these are sons as well. So if we don't empower them, our children and our women will continue to stay vulnerable. Let's deal with it first. Gagwesintu City, Umoti, Ugojwa, Uzimanzi. Thank you.
right, Nelly, let us know, why should South Africa vote for you?
Good morning, everyone. I am Nelly Mashile. I'm 28 years old and I'm from Davidson Benoni here in Gauteng. And my journey has really been shaped by the determination and the resilience of women that raised me. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother. And these women were all domestic workers. And it's through their spirit of tenacity and really the power of education that they inspired me to want to chase my dreams. And today I stand before you as a medical doctor, currently completing my community service in pediatrics. And I really think that South Africa should vote for me because my reign will really champion relatability and authenticity and really turn the harsh realities of South Africa into new stories of hope and possibilities. Wow. Thank you so much.
Now, Nelly, before you said, the only question that we all have now is that if we all decide to come to you as patients, do we get like a family discount? We all know, of course, you heard her here. Thank you very much. Give her another round of applause. Tabise, why should South Africa vote for you?
Oh, thank you so much, babe. Dumelang. Nagalbizo again Tabise Nkasi, and I am 30. And I am all the way from a woman that comes all the way from Soweto. I think one of the biggest reasons that South Africa needs to vote for this young girl is because I, for one, have experienced what systematic inequalities can have on an individual's life. And I have had the opportunity, fortunately, because of access, to be able to stand here today facing all of you as a woman who has succeeded because of access. And for me, it's about passing it forward. I believe South Africa needs to vote for me because I am working towards tackling one of the biggest issues that we have in our country, which is youth unemployment. And I would like to do this through access. Access to digital literacy, access to digital opportunities, because for me, that is how we are going to open up the job market. Open up access to remote work, open up access to entrepreneurship. For me personally, digital literacy is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity that each and every individual requires in order to be able to succeed and participate in today's job market or in today's economy. And I strongly believe that everybody, I say this, everybody deserves the benefit of a modern connected life, because that's how we as South Africans will be able to participate globally. And hopefully that is motivation enough to allow South Africans to really vote for this young woman to be your Miss South Africa 2025.
Thank you very much. Kawalekazi, tell us, why should South Africa vote for you?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kawalekazi Mazaleni. I'm originally from Edodyo Falagahle, but I grew up in the Eastern Cape. Now, currently I work as a speech therapist, and I'm doing my master's specializing in autism. But one of the biggest things I've actually seen working with children is that although we have a very huge, I think we've got a 62.4% unemployment rate, we need to start looking at the root causes of employment. One of the biggest ones being illiteracy. About 40% of our grade 1 learners don't actually make it to matric, right? And about 81% of our learners in grade 4 struggle to read with meaning and comprehension. And the root cause of that is that when children are learning language in the beginning, they need to be able to understand it in their home languages. This is a problem I saw, and I took it upon myself to write and self-publish a book in isiXhosa, just to allow children to be able to connect with literature, because it builds those critical thinking skills that they need from a foundational age for them to be able to carry that through. A reason I believe that South Africa should vote for me is because I'm somebody who stands by this mission. Before the crown, I'll stand with the crown, but it's something that goes far beyond the crown for me. It's not just about my reign as Miss South Africa, but it's about actually seeing tangible change within communities. And through that, I want to create workshops for preschool teachers, for parents as well, to equip them with the skills and the resources that they need to be able to drive that, and to also open opportunities up to the youth to be able to become authors, illustrators, and publishers for them to have those opportunities as well.
Thank you very much for that one. Zanele, tell us,
Why should South Africa vote for you?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Zanele Pagati. I am 27 years old and I was born and bred in Soweto. So I am an enterprise architect by profession, and years back I didn't know what that was, and I think that's why I've decided to champion career guidance, because that will help also with our unemployment in South Africa. I believe that the South African youth lack information in a lot of things, and that's why I want to uplift our youth by exposing them to careers they never knew even existed. And I think South Africa should vote for me because I have been on the ground for the past decade. I am a founder of Zapa House, and I've reached over like 500,000 kids going into high schools, telling them about the career they can go for. And yeah, I am a tech girl, I am in STEM, I code, and I believe these are the careers that they usually go into and future fit. So that's why I think South Africa should vote for me. Yeah.